When my uncle passed away and left me his farmland, I never imagined waking up to bulldozers and a smug HOA president claiming my property was theirs for a so-called airport expansion. If you found a single legal loophole that could save your home and expose a scheme threatening your entire neighborhood, what would you do? The call came while I was stirring tomato sauce on the stove. A simple moment interrupted by a voice that changed everything. "Ms. Jensen, I'm sorry to inform you that your Uncle Martin passed away," said the lawyer on the other end. I dropped my wooden spoon, sending sauce splattering across the pristine white tiles of my new kitchen. Uncle Martin had been my last living relative. "He left you his entire estate," the lawyer continued, "including a 20-acre farm just outside of Cedarwood Glen." I was 35, a marketing strategist who struggled to keep a cactus alive. The idea of inheriting farmland felt like a cosmic joke. But the next day, as I stood among the rolling fields, the old red barn casting a long shadow under the autumn sun, something shifted in me. There was a peace in that place I hadn't known I needed. "Your uncle refused every offer to sell," the lawyer explained, handing me a heavy folder. "Even when they built Ashwood Heights right next door." Ashwood Heights, the very neighborhood where I'd bought my townhouse just last year. I could practically see my roof from the edge of the farm. The lawyer showed me neatly organized property deeds, water rights, and boundary maps. Uncle Martin had been meticulous. That night, I sat on the porch watching the stars, asking myself what on earth I was going to do with the farm. The doorbell rang at precisely 7:30 the next morning. I was still in my pajamas when I opened it to find a sharply dressed woman with silver hair and 3 men in dark suits. "Camille Jensen?" she asked with a practiced smile. "I'm Patricia Langford, president of the Ashwood Heights Homeowners Association. May we come in?" Before I could answer, they swept into my living room as if they owned it. Patricia perched delicately on the edge of my couch. "We understand you've inherited Martin Jensen's land," she said, opening a leather folder. "We'd like to make you an offer." One of the men, introduced as Paul Henley from the town council, slid a document across my coffee table. "We're prepared to offer you $750,000 for the parcel." I nearly choked on my coffee. "That's less than half of what it's worth." Patricia's smile didn't waver. "Your uncle let that land go to waste for years. We're being more than generous." Her tone made my skin crawl. I dealt with enough smooth-talking execs in boardrooms to know when someone was trying to run a hustle. "I'll need time to consider it," I said coolly. "We don't have time, Ms. Jensen," Patricia replied, standing abruptly. "The Cedarwood Regional Airstrip expansion breaks ground next week. Your uncle's land is the final piece." "Airstrip?" I blinked. "What airstrip?" "The board approved it last month," she said, as if speaking to a child. "The runway extension requires your property. It's all laid out in the jurisdiction clauses of the HOA. Section 47B. She handed me a blue folder. "Our final offer expires tomorrow at noon. Be reasonable, Camille. You don't want to fight your entire community." After they left, I called in sick and drove to the farm. Sure enough, construction vehicles were already lining the road. Men in safety vests were hammering survey stakes into the ground. "Hey, what are you doing?" I yelled, storming toward them. "This is private property, ma'am," one of them replied, clearly confused. "Exactly. My property? Who gave you permission to be here?" "We have permits," he said, showing me digital files on his phone. "They were signed by the HOA and town council yesterday, before I'd even been given an offer." I ripped a survey stake from the ground. "Get off my land." A man in a hard hat approached. "Ms. Jensen, I presume? I'm Greg Stanton, site foreman. I know this looks bad, but all our permits are in order. You should speak with the HOA." I spent the rest of the day calling every official I could. Most gave me the runaround. The county commissioner never called back. The only attorney who took my call quoted me a retainer I couldn't afford. That night, surrounded by Uncle Martin's paperwork, I felt the weight of defeat settling in, until a knock at the back door startled me. It was Mr. Harvey from down the road, an older man with a warm voice and a careful gaze. "I saw what happened today," he said. "Mind if I come in? I think you could use an ally." Turns out Harvey was a retired judge, and he'd been watching Patricia Langford's schemes for years. "She runs the HOA like a cartel," he said, sorting through Uncle Martin's documents. "Her husband owns half the commercial district. Her son-in-law gets every construction contract." "But an airport?" I asked. Why go that far? It's not about air traffic, Harvey said. It's about money. Once that land's rezoned for commercial use, it skyrockets in value. The noise from the airport drives down home prices. And guess who buys them up for cheap? I ran a hand through my hair. What can I even do? I can't afford a lawsuit. Harvey adjusted his glasses and flipped through the HOA documents. Every legal scheme has a weak point. We just need to find Patricia's. We worked through the night. Just when I was ready to give up, Harvey found a decades-old survey and an odd discrepancy in boundary lines. Camille, he said, holding up a yellowed page. This doesn't match the HOA's current jurisdiction map. 3 hours and 2 pots of coffee later, we uncovered the truth. When Uncle Martin bought the property in 1978, the HOA had just formed. The previous owner signed the agreement, but Martin never did. And in 1995, when the HOA expanded its reach, they never got Martin's consent. They have no legal authority over your land, Harvey whispered. Their entire project hinges on a document your uncle never signed. Just as the sun crested the horizon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Langford bribed the inspector. Airport violates FAA codes. I have proof. Meet me at the old silo at noon. Come alone. Mason. Mason? I asked Harvey. Langford's former assistant, he said. He was fired last month after raising concerns. If he's reaching out, this could blow everything open. At the old silo, a gaunt man stepped from the shadows. You're Camille. Mason? I asked. He nodded. I worked for Langford for 3 years. Helped file every false report. But I kept copies. He handed me a flash drive with shaking fingers. This isn't an airport. It's a private cargo hub for her husband's logistics company. The safety inspections were fake. The environmental studies were forged. I stared at the files in disbelief. Why show me this? My daughter, he said, voice cracking. She loves frogs. Wants to be a biologist. And the pond on your land? Home to a species found nowhere else. Langford wants to drain it. That night, we rallied. Harvey called his daughter Leah an environmental attorney. We gathered evidence, planned our injunction, and prepared for the HOA meeting the next evening. The community center was packed. Langford stood at the podium in an expensive suit, smug and certain. But when I stood up and revealed my uncle's unsigned jurisdiction agreement and Mason's file, the room erupted. Neighbors gasped at the fraud, the lies, the illegal construction. Langford tried to adjourn the meeting. I pulled out the USB drive. This land hosts federally protected species, I said. Destroying it is a federal crime. The meeting ended in chaos. That night, someone broke into my home. My files were ransacked, my computer smashed. A brick came through my window with a note, sell now or regret it. We pressed on. Leah filed the injunction. Mason leaked more emails showing bribes and backdoor deals. Neighbors who once filed petty complaints now stood shoulder to shoulder with me. When bulldozers showed up to drain the wetlands, we formed a human chain around the pond. The media caught it all. State officials arrived. And soon after, the FBI. The Watsons were indicted. Langford resigned. The airport never got built. And my farm? It became the heart of a new community garden open to everyone. A few months later, I stood with Harvey, watching kids run barefoot through rows of tomato plants. What'll you do with the rest of the land? He asked. I looked out over the fields, over the protected wetlands where frogs now croaked safely in the dusk. Uncle Martin always said good fences make good neighbors, I smiled. But I think he was wrong. Good neighbors don't need fences at all.